clearly a legal incompetent.
Yeah, Meadows is suggesting that basically today, Saul, that, I mean, this whole extortion.
That's ridiculous.
This extortion line. I mean, it's as the Deputy Attorney General to throw around the word extortion when you're already, under a cloud of concern at the very least because of some of the makeup of the prosecutors, what's happened with the text messages, the failure to turn over documents.
He didn't pick the prosecutors. He didn't pick the prosecutor. I mean, Rod Rosenstein.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about over the investigation, and in a prickly. It was like a Comey-esque, priggish, prickly manner to go. Well, I can't believe it. I mean, it just looked undignified. It was very undignified.
What you see is a man
Please don't defame Rod by comparing him to Comey. Look, you've had these fights. What is it? You think it's okay for Trump to claim executive privilege vis-a-vis Mueller, but it's not okay for Rosenstein to resist Congress? That's been going on since Hector was a pup, and you know it. It's a back and forth.
I don't have any problem with. He can resist Congress, but he cannot refuse to turn over documents that Congress has a right to see. But here's the point. That use of the word extortion today was an absolute outrage on the part of a constitutional officer who is the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. That is unbecoming, and it's a fireable offense. He's not going to be fired because the president shouldn't do it.
Joe, you think everything's an outrage. Everything outrageous.
Actually, that's not true, Saul. And in fact, when the Deputy Attorney General of the United States uses the word extortion for Congress seeking documents it's entitled to under oversight, that is outrageous.
Yeah, so all I'll say is, look, the only reason they ever turned over the documents is because they were about to be slapped with contempt of Congress. They had to go to that level to get the documents that they're entitled to get under their normal constitutional oversight obligation. It's their obligation.
Rod's going to get what he wanted. Rod wanted a fight. He's going to get it.
You know what? The president actually is higher up than Rod Rosenstein. It's an amazing thing in our system of government. At any time in the last 6 months, the president could have picked up the phone and told Rod Rosenstein, instead of tweeting. No, not fired him. He could have said, Rod, turn that stuff over, and then Rod could have either said,
that would have worked well.
No, he's been told.
Oh, come on.
He's been told.
That's
the
ridiculous.
President has been told he cannot communicate with the Justice Department by Don McGahn, the White House counsel.
We're out of town. We're going to run to black. We're going to run to black.
I don't care what Don McGahn does. He's obviously not helping the president.
Guys, thank you both. You're right. He would have been creamed politically and PR-wise by the press and so forth, and he was advised not to do that. And by the way, when we come back, a rapper tied to Snoop Dogg issued a blood-curdling warning for Kanye West. Stay there. Well, I had really hoped that Kanye West's outspokenness would spark a real national dialogue. You know, big country, big opinions, and one in which the African-American community would question whether reflective allegiance to the left and the Democrats has really always served them well. Well, Kanye West in recent days has been really vocal in his support of President Trump and free thought. But some of the left just cannot tolerate dissent. And now Kanye is facing a very public threat to his safety from a rapper tied to Snoop Dogg.
Yo, national alert. All the Crips out there, y'all Kanye up. Better not ever see you in concert. Better not ever see you around California. Stay in Calabasas. You hear me? Because we got a Crip alert for Kanye. All the Crips out there, you see that bang on his up.
Well, that's the work of L.A. rapper Daz Dillinger calling on the notorious Crips gang to bang on Kanye, meaning shoot him. Let's discuss with attorney Michael Starr Hopkins, a contributor to The Hill and radio talk show host and Fox News contributor, Kevin Jackson. All right, gentlemen, this is wild. We're going to get into what happened on TMZ today as well, which is was incredible to watch. But let's start on this physical threat. Now we have a situation, Michael, where when you disagree, you are so low on the totem pole, if you can even say that anymore, maybe you can't, but you're so low because you have the wrong views that you must be not just ridiculed on social media or, any of that, but you must be destroyed, not just rhetorically, but apparently physically.
Yeah, I mean, there's no place for violence in the political discussion. I don't care whether, you know, you're Kanye West or any other celebrity or average American. I don't think the Crips or the Bloods represent the left, just like I don't think white nationalists or neo-Nazis represent the right. And I think what we should be focusing on here is what role Republicans are going to play in the African-American community. You know, Tim Scott, Colin Powell, those are both black Republicans who on policy I disagree with, but, you know, I think that they have a right to believe whatever they want to believe. Kanye West is playing a different game.
Kevin, look, Kanye West is someone who, you know, trashed George W. Bush. He didn't care about black people. He's an interesting guy on a lot of fronts. But this was kind of surprising to a lot of people when he comes out. He has this big rollout of a couple new tracks, and it has, I guess, a new album coming out soon. And I mean, is this just opportunism on his part, or does he just really like Trump and this is kind of so. Cool for him, a cool moment?
Yeah, he's all over the political spectrum. He's already proven that he's been, anti-Bush. He happens to like Donald Trump. And the problem with what Michael said, and I believe Michael's being sincere, but the problem that people on his side of the aisle don't face is that black conservatives get ridiculed all the time. You have to have skin that's thicker than a rhinoceros and a pear the size of Alaska if you're going to be a black conservative, and Kanye's about to find this out. Rarely do you ever hear the other side. I've never heard it, but I'm going to use rarely so I don't speak in absolutes. Have I ever heard somebody come to the defense of people like myself who want nothing but the best for blacks, but get called Uncle Toms, coon butt Negroes, and I clean that up for you, step and fetch it, and a whole host of other names?
Those are the nice names you've been called.
Live in Morgantown, West Virginia tonight for an electric start to the midterm election season. Republicans there are trying to turn a Democratic Senate seat red, and it got a bit hot in there.
I'm up in Washington actually working with President Trump. I have been fighting the establishment.
You can't drain the swamp being like the swamp.
I feel very fortunate that I'm one of the folks up here who moved to the state by choice. I love West Virginia with all the fiber in my being.
Congressman Jenkins, I got to ask you, I'm from New Jersey. What are New Jersey values and what's wrong with them?
We need somebody representing our values. You can't change your values just because you change your zip code.
If Joe Manchin comes after you for living in Nevada, what do you say?
That he's lived in D.C. too long.
If you would, please raise your hand if you would support Mitch McConnell for Republican leader in the Senate.
He hasn't asked.
He won't be the majority leader, but let me clarify that both of these guys are right. They're both lying.
If you want to see what the problem is, it is the pill pushers. And Patrick Morrissey has represented those people for years and made millions.
There goes yet again. He's lies just keeping out. Did your mom ever tell you that we should wash your mouth out with soap with those lies? You know?
They sent me to prison for a misdemeanor. I was the only prisoner there that was a misdemeanor. It was clear from the beginning to the end that it was a fake prosecution.
All right, that's a lot to chew on. Let's bring in West Virginia native and Fox News politics editor Chris Steyerwalt. All right, what do you make of this primary tonight and what it would tell us possibly about how these guys could survive in the general against Senator Manchin? Very popular guy, as you know, in West Virginia.
Well, there was a time he was extraordinarily popular. I think that the Trump era has been hard on Manchin because he hadn't quite been able to figure out. He's been caught splay-footed a couple of times, and that's why Republicans are so optimistic that this is the year that Joe Manchin can't beat the clock again, that he can't run out the clock. And that's why there's so much, I mean, the amount of anger, the amount of real hostility that you saw between Evan Jenkins and Patrick Morrissey tonight was uncomfortable. It was really intense. Wash your mouth out with soap, really ugly, really nasty, calling each other a liar. And that gave Don Blankenship, who was coming into this in the underdog, that it gave him the opportunity to stand back. It reminded me of Trump in the 2016 presidential primary debates, where he said, hey, look, I'll let the regular politicians rip each other to shreds, and I'll just stand down here and drop in a couple one-liners here and there. And I think it worked very well for Blankenship tonight.
Well, you know, in a lot of states, we see potential candidates, backing off and not wanting to be too tightly aligned with President Trump, saying, I'm independent, I'll do my own thing. I heard a lot tonight of kind of trying to out-MAGA each other there in West Virginia. Is that the winning formula there?
MAGA times 3,000. In West Virginia, in this Republican primary, the electorate has an 87% favorable rating for President Trump, according to our most recent Fox News poll. That tells you that there is no problem for associating yourself. And also in the general election, remember, a lot of Democrats in West Virginia voted for Donald Trump. He was a Democrat. He embraces a lot of policies that Democrats traditionally did. And that's exactly what Blankenship's trying to tap into. He's trying to say, I'm an outsider. I'm not a typical politician. And that's what I want to do. That makes it hard for Jenkins. But I will say this. If there's a net loser tonight, it was Patrick Morrissey, because what he needed, he and Blankenship are competing for the same pool of votes. He needed Blankenship to go down. He needed him to have a bad night and dry up and blow away. Morrissey didn't get that tonight. He was focused on Jenkins, but he really should have been focused on Blankenship, and Blankenship got away clean.
All right, can we take a quick look at the Senate power rankings map, and you walk us through a little bit about what's at stake at this point coming up into the midterms?
Well, we've got those 7 seats, those 7 states that you see right there in Mountaineer gold that you see, and that's where this battle comes down to. The Republicans have a 1-seat advantage in the Senate, and of those Senate seats are 4 of these very vulnerable red state Democrats, and that is Joe Manchin in West Virginia, but it's also Claire McCaskill in Missouri, it's Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, and it's Joe Donnelly in Indiana. And in each of those cases, it's a catch-22. When you have a vulnerable incumbent, that's good for a party if you're trying to pry him out, but it's bad because you get all of the crows come picking in your cornfield when you get to the primaries. And the Test for Republicans in West Virginia, in Indiana, a lot of other places. Can they avoid doing too much damage to each other in the primaries so that they stay viable in the general?
Yeah, it's always the story. Everybody comes out bloodied and bruised. All right, come back to us safely, Chris Stirewalt. Great to have you with us live from West Virginia.
Pepperoni rolls en route.
Okay, we're counting on it. All right, California's strict new gun and ammunition control laws were supposed to be the cutting edge in progressive gun control. We'll stick around and meet an Olympic medalist fed up enough to take the state to court over it for a very practical reason. That Olympian, Kim Rhode, she's won 6 Olympic medals, a whole lot more, has numerous world shooting records. She is here to tell her side of the story next.